Episode 3. 6 months later, the bride is doing well thanks to the support of the community. Everyone is waiting anxiously as the baby is due any day. There is a mixture of excitement and fear. How exciting to have a baby on the island, especially as so many people have left behind their own children and grandchildren. However, it would be so devastating to lose the baby, or the bride, or both. Late one evening, the bride feels a sharp stab of pain and hunches over, cradling her bump. She slowly raises her head and looks at her husband. They lock eyes, frozen by fear as they both know what is coming. One of the older ladies walks over and takes the bride's hand. She looks at her calmly and smiles reassuringly. "It is time," she says, and she helps her over to the hut. The ship's doctor follows. It's many years since he has delivered a baby, and he knows there will only be so much that he is able to do. Everyone around the campfire falls silent. The old lady starts to remember her own children and her own grandchildren. Her husband takes her hand, knowing exactly what she's thinking at that point. In the distance, they can hear her cries of pain, but at least it means that she is still alive. There's a bit of a discussion that goes on around the fire about who's going to stay up all night and who's going to head off to bed. Some stay because they recognise it's a unique experience and they want to be here. Others thinking, I need the energy for tomorrow because tomorrow is going to be really hectic. Suddenly, towards dawn and the half-light, the cries stop. Everyone looks at each other anxiously. As the seconds go by, the tension becomes greater. Then they hear a noise. In the distance, they see someone running towards them. Because of the darkness, they cannot see who it is. There are no clues as to whether it is good or bad news. As the fire lights up the person's face, they see it as one of the women, and she is gasping for breath, far too puffed out to speak. But she doesn't have to. They can see her face beaming with joy. The child and the mother are safe. Then a discussion breaks out. What should we do? What should we do now? At first it's passing the news around the group, but then as the news is passed around, discussion takes place about what they should do to mark this incredible occasion. Some people suggest a party. It seems the obvious thing to do. But then some people question that, not because they don't want to have a party, but they just think it needs to be more than a party. It should be a celebration. Someone suggests a ceremony. And discussion takes place about, well, what's the difference between a ceremony and a party? And then they realise that actually there is a difference between the two. A ceremony carries meaning and significance. Somebody even says this, that we need rituals, ceremonies. They strengthen us and they enable us to feel things have changed. This is a new stage of life. The old is gone. The new has begun. So then the discussion moves on to, well, what type of ceremony do we have? And there's a list drawn up. A list of things for people to think about. There should be special actions, movements. Some people talk about how people will process into this ceremony, how they'll walk and where they'll come from, and who should be carrying the child, and who should be inside or outside as this ceremony begins. Then there will be special words. That's a liturgy. These are words that are created by this community to mark this event. So there's discussion about writing poetry or writing songs in some way that would communicate what people were feeling. Others have talked about special clothes, because when you go to a wedding you wear different type of clothes, or you go to a funeral you go to with different types of clothes. So there needs to be special clothes for this, and discussion goes on about, well, what sort of clothes would we wear to mark this occasion? Then there'll be special food. There's always food at a ceremony or a party, there's always food, but what food would be special for this occasion? You know, when you have a birthday, you have a birthday cake. When you have a wedding, you have a big feast and you have a special cake. But what would we have for this one in terms of food? And then lastly, there would be special gifts. Everybody around the community would bring a gift. Not just a practical gift, a special gift. A gift that communicates their wishes for the child into the future. That's the end of episode 3. Now what I want you to do is make sure your notes are written up from today's episode, write them up, and then start to get a little bit more serious about putting your journal together. Maybe just making sure you've got the paper or the book that you want, or the pens or pencils that you want to use, or maybe just get the document set up in your computer so that it's ready to go. You've got the notes for episode 1, episode 2 and episode 3 now. So you could make a start on that. Maybe think about a front cover. Maybe think about how you're going to lay it out. But episode 3 has got a lot in it. So maybe go back to the beginning and listen to it again. Maybe have a think about all the different elements in the story and make sure they're part of your journal. But there's an important element you need to make sure you give some time to. We've talked about ceremony, and we've got 5 different elements in it. We've got rituals, that's actions. We've got liturgy, we've got words, we've got clothes, we've got food, and we've got gifts. So make sure you've got those all part of it. Now, what some people do is they'll create a menu and they'll put that into their journal saying, this is what happened in this ceremony, or a recipe, or a program, you know, where you have a program like for a wedding that gives you a little bit of information about what's happening. You'll have all those elements in that program that'll be part of your journal. You be creative about how you do that. I'm sure you'll have some fantastic ideas. Anyway, you've got plenty to work on, and if you've got any questions, then please email me, and I'm quite happy to answer your questions at any point. Have fun, and I'll put episode 4 onto Go for Schools in about 5 days' time. Okay, so